Hi, I'm Hope Witkowsky, your host of Senior Scene. I get tired of listening on the news about all the bad things that people do to other people. But then there are the other side of that story. There are people who do wonderful good deeds all the time, and yet they don't get covered. On today's show, we're going to hear about some of those good deeds that are being done and how they really, really make people who do the good deeds feel, and those who receive them also. Come on, let's go check it out. Meet Linda Ferrara, the matriarch of the Ferrara family. Linda and Mario Ferrara raised 5 children, of which many have made a commitment to the United States military.
I have 4 sons. They all ended up in the Army. 3 of them graduated from West Point and 1 went to USC and did ROTC. So they were all in the Army as new lieutenants after they graduated. My eldest son graduated in '97. He's now a colonel. So we weren't at war when he graduated. His first post was Hawaii. Mm-hmm. My other sons, we were at war. Actually, 9/11 happened when my son Matthew was a new cadet at West Point. Mm-hmm. And so they ended up being overseas for a lot of the time.
Then came the news that no parent ever wants to hear.
My son Matt was killed in November 2007, and the company that he was in, he was a member of the 173rd Airborne Brigade. They were out of Vicenza, Italy, and that company has been the most highly decorated company of any of our companies that have been deployed since the global war on terror began. And he was killed in an ambush that killed 6 soldiers. And a few months later, there were another 9 soldiers from his company. The companies are roughly 120, 130 men. So they were killed in another ambush. So when the second lot of soldiers had been killed, I had asked my contact that had given me a lot of information from Landstuhl Hospital in Germany, what can I do to help these guys, or what do you need? And she said that, how about you start making blankets, because we're always short of blankets.
The idea of making blankets came quick to her. She soon felt the outpour of support from the community, even from her hometown.
I feel like he lives on in my heart anyway. I do it partly to honor him, mm-hmm. and I do it because I know there's a lot of soldiers out there that don't have a lot of support, and that they need it. And I think it's a great thing for a young man to join the military, and especially if he doesn't have other good options, because he'll learn such a lot, mm-hmm. and that maybe can help his whole life, mm-hmm. So I think they need some support.
Linda never had a shortage of friends looking to lend her a helping hand.
I'm eternally grateful for them for showing up week after week, helping. It's not just the making of the blankets. We have to buy it, cut them, pack them, mail them, shop for things. So there's a lot of people involved, more so than just the face value of making the blanket. There's a lot of work behind the scenes also.
The main motivation for Linda's blanket making brigade of women was her way of letting those soldiers know that they're not forgotten. When her longtime friend heard of her project, it didn't take long for them to tell her they wanted in.
Well, I do it because, one thing, for Linda, to honor her son, and also because I just like doing something to show all the men and women that are overseas fighting for us that there are people here thinking of them, and it's just something to honor them.
Linda is a long-term friend. We have crossed paths with our children. My daughter and her daughter are good friends. We were in Adventures in Art together in the PTA. I coached her daughter in soccer. They ran cross country. I mean, there's a lot of history. South Torrance is like a small community part of Torrance, and so I've known Linda and Mario and the kids since, gosh, my daughter was maybe 3rd grade, 4th grade.
Seeing the work that goes into making these blankets that are sent to our troops in hospitals in Germany are incredible. The groups of volunteers make 60 to 70 blankets a month. The icing on the cake is when these women receive letters and pictures of the soldiers with those blankets.
It just makes you feel good. It keeps you healthy. It keeps you happy. You can see that other people need care, and it's nice to touch somebody even though they have no idea who you are. Some of the letters from the soldiers have been very heartwarming.
The stories that these wonderful volunteers have about the small gift that they do monthly is heartwarming and an amazing example of how they feel about the good deed that they do.
I have a granddaughter that's in the Air Force, and I have a grandson who's also in the Army, and I have one who's retired from the Army who's been disabled now. But to me, they absolutely love the idea that these ladies do this for the soldiers that are injured. It really does make a difference. And when we get a card back from them and they mention, it's so great to hear from home, your heart just has to melt. It's just overpowering.
I think her kids are proud of their mom, that she does what she does and how she's handled everything. It's just a one terrific family. They are all just marvelous people and have just, instead of dwelling on the negative, have really picked up and dwelled on the positive. We're all here for the same purpose, to honor our troops, and just a great group of ladies, and we have a good time together, and I think we leave feeling good that we've done a good deed.
When Linda gets a letter from a soldier, it warms her heart. She doesn't need any thank yous, but when they come to her, she is refueled and inspired.
It's always wonderful to get a letter from a soldier that says, hey, ladies, I got one of your blankets, and, you know, I snuggle up with it every night, and it keeps me warm, and I thank you so much, and nice to know that people back home are even thinking of us. This one actually says, thank you from the Earth Pigs. They give themselves, you know, they're usually pretty, they're not, you know, gentle and kind names. They're usually someone else has named them. This was actually one of my sons was deployed, and I sent his unit, everybody. So everybody that was at that forward operating base, I sent them blankets. And it said, Dear Mrs. Ferrara, thank you so much for the wonderful blankets that you sent us. The amount of time and thought that all of you put into them is evident and greatly appreciated. While every man here knew what he was signing up for when he joined our organization, it is nice to know that our sacrifices and those of our family, as I'm sure you can attest to, are noticed. Your generosity serves as a reminder of why our country is so amazing and worth fighting for. It is an honor for us to serve. Thank you for the warmth sent from home and for all that you do, not only for us, but our fellow airmen, Marines, sailors, and soldiers. From our family to yours, God bless. And there's a picture of about 10 guys wrapped in their blankets.
Oh my gosh, that's
so.
Do you get emotional when you read these letters that come to you?
Well, we had a really, really nice one some years ago of a young female soldier, and she was lying on a gurney wrapped in one of our blankets.
The city of Torrance dedicated Seaside Heroes Park on Anza Boulevard and Lomita as a tribute to those who died in the line of duty.
I met Linda through the park, of course, and then began the blanket. But to do the park, it was just something that when I found out what these boys had sacrificed, especially Linda's boy at first, I just felt the city needed to do something for them. And that park was being thought of, and so I felt they should be honored in some way. And I thought, but I didn't know any of them. I didn't know the families, but to me, they're still part of everyone's family.
I just love it. I just love it. It's a wonderful idea. The last day that we spent with our son before he went to Iraq and was killed was in a park like this. And then now to have his hometown do this so that other people can read about him and read about Joseph and Matthew is just very moving. We love that.
My hero is Linda. I think she is just a fabulous mother, and military family, it's just hard not to admire someone like that. So she's my idol.
A hero amongst their own, Linda continues to bring volunteers together to give something to the troops overseas and to honor her son.
Well, the news basically covers bad things because that's just what they do. But there's so much good going on that people do that, to me, it's just important to do a show like this to show how much that is being done by people that care and doing good deeds.
On today's show, you saw so many people doing good deeds. You got to see what they feel like after they do them. I hope today's show inspired you to think about how you can get into the good deed movement. I'm Hope Witkowsky reminding you, knowledge, it's a powerful tool. Tune in to Senior Scene next time for more secrets on successful aging.